this SheClicks webinar about building a photography business. I'm Angela Nicholson and I'm the founder of SheClicks. Tonight's webinar is presented by Nicole Elliott, who is an award-winning professional photographer, public speaker and entrepreneur. She's also the woman behind the design of one of BlackRapid's straps. Hi Nicole, how are you?
I'm so good. How are you?
Very good, very well, thank you very much. So obviously you're in the States right now. What time is it there?
Yes. We are at 12:30. It's like the bright sun is coming in here, and I can tell it's evening for you. You guys are, it's all dim and dark.
Yes, and we certainly haven't had bright sun here today.
Yeah. Oh, we've had lots of sun here. It's so fun.
Lovely. Yeah, well, it's been heavy rain and drizzle and overcast and quite grey here, but hopefully tomorrow's supposed to be a better day.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. There's parts of the United States that are that way. Like Seattle is always very gloomy and rainy. And parts Colorado, where we are from, it's sunny 350 days out of the year. So that's my kind of state.
Very nice. Now, speaking of gloomy and miserable, the title of your talk was Rising from the Rubble, which is kind of building from disaster, really. And I guess you're talking about 2020.
Yes. I mean, it's just been a hard year for photographers, business owners, people in general, in your heart, in your spirit, just all around. And so when you asked me to speak, this was like, it just came right to me, Rise from the Rubble. It just so came right out. So I'm excited to share what's on my heart.
Oh, fantastic. Well, the floor is yours if you'd like to take it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, awesome. Usually I'm used to seeing my audience and just visually connecting with them. I'm such a person that's, I love talking right to somebody's soul and spirit, and so this is kind of a different bit of a format for me, but I know you guys are there. I know you can see me. My camera, I feel like, blows my face out entirely, but whatever. We're going to deal with that. So I encourage you guys to grab paper and pencil if you've got it. What I want to do with you today is take you on a little bit of a journey, and parts of this journey are going to be introspective. Just looking at where you're at, where you want to be, and it's really a great way to do that since you're at home, you're in the privacy of your home, and you can feel free to really just dive into this content today. And I like to speak, and at the end of my talks, I hope that you will have felt inspired and encouraged and just gone to that next level, maybe understood something different about who you are, where you are, and where you need to be. And that's what I live for. So that's what this talk is about. Like Angela said, I was raised here. I actually was born in Germany. My dad was in the Air Force for many years. And so I was born there, but was raised in the United States by Hispanic parents. My dad is Puerto Rican. My mother is from Ecuador. Look at this. Oh, somebody I'm seeing just these chats pop up. Someone else from North Carolina, USA. Hi, awesome. Yeah, if you guys want to, like I said, I'm so interactive, so this is so different for me, but if you guys want to post things in the chat, I know that at the end we'll have some time for question and answer. So if you have questions, make sure you just write them down, and I will love to answer them and get back to you on those. But yeah, my mother's from Ecuador. Hey, you guys. Hey, Noreen. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining. Yeah, my mother is from the UK. Oh, you guys, seriously, I wish we were all in a room together. This is so cool. Yeah, I love Colorado. My mother is from Ecuador, and I was raised going to Ecuador. Ecuador is in South America. My dad is from Puerto Rico, and I grew up going to Puerto Rico and Ecuador as a child and loved both of them. But grew up in the US and learned to speak Spanish because my mother just taught me Spanish from the get-go. And so I have been bilingual my entire life. I've had a chance to visit London, side note, and I absolutely love your country, you guys. And just we toured a little bit through all of the countryside and stuff. Just beautiful. So anyway, I grew up going to Ecuador, and Ecuador was a place for me that just had such a big part of my life. And I'm going to segue into my talk by just unpacking who my mother is and who her mom was, just real quick. You know, my talk is Rise from the Rubble. My grandmother at 15 married the first guy she met and just left everything that she ever knew. And she was poor and didn't have anything. She left a very abusive home, and she went to live with her mother-in-law, so her husband's mom and dad. And her husband said, I'm fine living here for the rest of my life. And she was like, I'm not. We need to make a life for ourselves. So she went to a tiny little town in the Amazon rainforest of Ecuador. It's called Shell, which at the time it didn't have a name. And she decided to bring her aunt gave her a small amount of money, and she invested in just very small things like soap and toothbrush and toothpaste and things like that. She slept on the street, sold what little she had. People bought it. She kept enough to just live and survive, and saved. She used enough to live and survive and saved the rest. And then she would put a little bit more, buy a little bit more and sell, and then save and live off literally just canned beans, and made them on the side of the road. And continued to live that way until she grew more and more and more and more and more, to where at one point she ended up buying a little cart, and then after that she bought a little corner store, and then after that she bought the whole building, and then after that she bought, by following the same exact model. Just keep enough of what I need to live and invest the rest. Keep enough from what I just, so live very frugally. And doing that, she rose out of the rubble. And now my mother's name, the Velasco family in Shell, is well known because she rose from the rubble. My mother did the same thing, came to New York City, not even knowing English, and made a name for herself in the entrepreneurial world. So I come from a long line of women who rose from the rubble. How do you do that? How do you do that? Practically speaking, we're all, some of us are entrepreneurs. Some of us are hobbyist photographers. Some of us are professional photographers. But I would imagine that through this season, it has been this time of refocusing, a sort of restart in our minds and in our hearts, probably maybe even a season of rest, and just standing back and saying, what am I doing? Where am I going? What's next? Who knows? But where am I finding myself in this point of life? And so I just want to unpack the 5 stages of success to help you get just practical tools, a practical just knowledge on how to move through and identify the stage that you're at right now. So like I said in the beginning, grab pen and paper, because if you're like me, you are visual. I'm such a visual learner, and it helps for me to write things out. When we write things out, it's been known to be recorded more in the back recesses of your brain. So I would encourage you to follow along with me. Just write these things down. Oh gosh. All right, this is so great. So usually I do this on a big, huge whiteboard right next to me on, a bigger platform, but we're going to do a paper and a marker. So I'm just going to write this out, and I know you guys will be able to see it with me. So this comes from Lance Wallnau. I just want to give credit to Lance Wallnau, who I learned from my mentor, who walked us through these 5 stages. And for the last 6 years, this has been really pivotal for me to identify what stage am I in within these 5 stages. Okay, so I'm gonna write it out first, and then I'm gonna bring it around to you guys so you guys can see it. So our first stage is dream. Let me just write it out. Here we go. Simple. And this might be totally backwards. This is not ideal, but it does say dream.
Don't worry, it's the right way around. We can see it.
Is it? Okay. To me, it's totally backwards, but for you guys, yeah, it looks like it's the right way. All right. So your first stage is dream. Simple. This is where we're so excited. We're like, all right, we've got this dream and we've got this concept or this idea. And this could be in business. This could be just, hey, maybe deciding to homeschool your children. Right now in America, basically everybody's homeschooling their kids right now. We're online and at home. And I have actually homeschooled my 4 children for the last 7 years. I know, God bless me, because it has been such a challenge. But yeah, I failed to mention that I am married to an 11. They're 14, 11, and 9 and 7. Okay, so hopefully you guys got that. And I love them. I love my girls. They're incredible and they're beautiful, and it has been such a blessing. But so your dream, this dream phase can be any gamut. So just kind of think of those areas in your life where you dream. Now in this dream phase, you are unconsciously incompetent. Okay, so I'm going to write that out right above it. Unconsciously incompetent. Okay, so this is where you are feeling totally unaware of your inability to do the thing that you want to do, because your dream and your excitement and your tenacity to do this thing trumps the conscious awareness of how hard it's going to be. All right, so this is your dream. It's a beautiful place to be. Next, we dip real far down. We dip into distress. And this is a far dip down. And let me just write in what this is quick. Okay, so here's your, all right. So here's your dream. Now you are very aware. Your next phase is distress. Distress. You quickly fall from your high status of dreaming down. You dip into a state of distress, where now here, I don't know if you can read it here, but it's you are consciously incompetent. Okay, so now here is where you realize all that it's going to take to accomplish this dream. And now you're aware of your incompetency. Okay, so now you're consciously aware of that. This distress phase is the hardest part of any dream. This is the place where people will either quit or continue. And it's not bad to quit. Actually, there is a book that, write this down too. It's called The Dip by Seth Godin. The Dip by Seth Godin. It's a little booklet. Like, for those of you that aren't big readers, kind of like me, it's a book that it's pretty short. It's not a very long book at all. You'll finish it in just a couple hours of travel if you do audiobook. Incredible book that unpacks this state of being in the dip. And I love what he says in his book. He says, quit the wrong stuff, stick with the right stuff, and have the guts to do one or the other. Okay, so this is kind of that place where you're realizing, you're gathering all the information for this dream. You're saying, all right, so it's going to take this, this, and this. Am I able to accomplish this dream? And so all of this, it really is the hardest part, where all of the weight of this dream now comes upon you. Now, I know that it's sounding like it's such a bad thing, but the truth is, if it's like building muscle in this stage where it's hard, literally the fibers of your muscles tear in order to get stronger. Weightlifters know this. You're lifting weights and it's the hardest thing. You're pushing past your mindset, your limiting beliefs, and you're pushing past that and saying, I can lift this heavy weight because I know on the other side of this, I'm going to be stronger. So here is where I want to just take a pause and address limiting beliefs. Write that down. Limiting beliefs. A limiting belief is just a limiting thought that you have made truth in your life. It's a limiting thought that you have made truth in your life. And it could sometimes those limiting thoughts turn into destructive thoughts that create destructive truths within your mind. You know, Henry Ford has a saying. He says, the man that thinks he cannot will not. If you everything starts in your mind, and I know that we know this, but our mind will really prohibit us from ever moving past those things that come against those hardships, this dip. The last thing I would want you to do is quit just because of your limiting beliefs, though. So that's why I want to address this here. So, and we're gonna take a pause from this, but we're gonna come back because I'm gonna say that again. You don't want to quit just because you have allowed a limiting belief to take root in your mind, and it will not allow you to move past, even though you might have all the resources you need, even though it looks like your dream is accomplishable. It'll be hard, but it's accomplishable. But because of that limiting belief, you never move past it. So then what happens is people, they just do this. They go from distress to dream, distress to dream, distress to dream. They just go back and forth. And in the middle of that is all your limiting beliefs that just don't ever let you move past through and up through to the next 3 stages, which are essential in accomplishing this dream. Okay. So just a quick second. I want to pause. And Angela, I have no time is like here. So if you can pop in and just let me know kind of where I'm at, maybe give me like the 10-minute mark or something like that. Cause I'm just going to like flow here. And I'm going to let you be the one that maybe keeps me on track with time. So
No problem.
Okay. All right, you guys. So limiting beliefs. I want you on your paper, write down, just think through real quick. And you might have kind of, as I've been saying it, something might have popped up in your head. Write down your top 2 thought processes that you have in your head that you know are lies. You know they aren't the truth. You know there are these thoughts that you think about yourself, about the person that you are. They're thoughts that might have come to you as a child. It might have been something that was spoken over you by your parents. It might have been something that was you have just believed maybe as a teenager and through college. Whatever it might be, those limiting thoughts of, I don't even want to say them because I want you just to come up with that on your own. But you'll know what they are. There's no wrong answer. Nobody's going to correct this or even see it. This is just for you. But it's important to do these things. You know, I think a lot of times we go through life and you don't take a step back to actually like be introspective with yourself and have to think through like, okay, what are the lies that I'm believing? And how is it prohibiting me from really moving forward and accomplishing what I was meant to do in my life? Okay, so that's why this is important. So 2 top beliefs that you know are destructive to you. You know they are lies to you. You know that they aren't the absolute truth. Okay, so I just want you to write those down. And if you just want to write this down, but really kind of unpack this even more within your heart at a later time, that's cool too. I just want you to write the questions down. So top 2 limiting beliefs. After you've thought through that, the next question would be to take those 2 limiting beliefs and totally debunk them. I don't know if debunk, totally tear them down with the truth. Why are those not the absolute truth in your life? What are positive thoughts? What are powerful thoughts that can counteract those 2 limiting beliefs? Now on that answer to that question should be really long. You should put as many thoughts on there, and get this, even if you don't believe it about yourself. You say, I am strong and mighty. I am able to think through effectively and be a wise decision maker. I want you to put I am truths right next to it. Okay, even if you're like, well, am I? I don't care. Just do it. You put those positive thoughts to completely counteract those limiting beliefs. All right, so whatever that is on there, they could be super specific. Okay, so that's your second one. You're going to completely devalue, you're going to tear down those limiting beliefs by putting in positive counteractive boundary breaking thoughts in that second question. Okay, all right, so then after that, your third question, and again, like that I would love for every one of you guys to really take time and write this stuff out. Like beyond this moment, just write all these things out on your own and just look at them and become that. There are sometimes I write this stuff out for myself on my mirror in my bathroom. I look at it, I read it, I do the same thing for my children. I speak truths over their life every day, about who they are and who they're going to walk into as women one day, mighty women. So say those things over yourself. And just the last question would be, with these limiting beliefs, now with your new thought process, what could happen in your life? So getting the limiting beliefs out of your way, if those are completely out of the way, what could you accomplish in your life? Okay, and this is part of that dream phase too. It's kind of goes back and forth, like, what really, if all that was out of the way, what could I really accomplish? What do I want to accomplish? So just identifying that third question as well. And that last question is what you would then just, that goes into your dream and your distress phase, because the hope is that in that moment of being consciously incompetent, you're very aware now. I'm aware of my limiting beliefs. I'm aware of the thought process I have that stops me from moving forward. Okay, so I'm aware of that now. And now that I have captured that, I've taken that under control, I've taken that out of my mind and my heart and my life, that in itself will not be the thing that makes me quit in this harder phase of my life. Because you guys, that is huge. Your thoughts, the things you think about yourself, are huge in whether or not you move forward in the things that you were meant to do in your life, or where you just stay waffling between the dream and distress, dream and distress, dream and distress, and you never move forward, and you end up feeling anxious, you end up feeling dissatisfied, because what the energy that you have behind that limiting belief just wants to bust through. So that's why, you guys, I'm huge. This limiting belief stuff is huge for me. And what I have made a practice in my life to take a step back and think, wait a minute, is that a limiting belief? Is that a limiting belief? Okay, it is. I'm going to take it captive. I'm going to pull it down from its altar, and I'm going to crucify it and get it out of my life. Okay, so being in this practice of being aware of your thought process, and then in place, speaking out with your mouth, writing it out, who you are and who you see you to be, is huge. So I just wanted to take, and I honestly could stay in that space for a long time. There's actually a visual exercise that if I had a longer amount of time, I would walk you guys through. That is just, you basically lock it out of the way, your limiting beliefs. But I will just let you, what I have actually done before, and we've done this in larger settings, is we take those beliefs, we crumple them up, and we just throw them in the garbage. We just don't ever think about them again. But all right, so that's that. I hope you have just an understanding of that concept of your thoughts, those beliefs that you've made true, that you need to completely get out of your life and your mindset, so that that is not any hindrance for you to move forward. Awesome. Okay. Let's keep moving forward. And again, you guys, if you have questions about these things, just write them out and we are going to unpack them at the end. Okay. Because I'd love to have a dialogue with you guys or just, answer you guys' questions. All right. So I'm going to just write this out. Okay. So your next phase, you guys, after you have been in this state of distress, where you're like, gosh, man, this is going to be hard, but I can do this. I can do this. Or you have said, boy, this is really hard. And as I've looked through the process of doing it, I've done all of my research. I've talked to top professionals in this area. I have understood everything it's going to take for this and realized this actually isn't something that I want to invest my time in. That's okay too. I do want to just give release to that. Remember what Seth Godin says? I'm going to say it again. His quote: quit the wrong stuff, stick with the right stuff, have the guts to do one or the other. So it's okay to quit in this phase if after you've gathered all of your info to accomplish this and you're realizing, gosh, just for right now, it's just not going to work. And you go back to dream and you say, God, give me that other thing. What's that next thing? That's okay too. But if you've gotten through this and you've gotten to this point and realized, all right, I think I've got what it takes. It's going to be hard and it scares the crap out of me, but I've got what it takes. Okay. Now you go up into development. Okay. Development now is where you are consciously competent. Okay. I'm going to write that out as you guys write it out too. Consciously competent. At this point, you have now learned, you have read, you have understood. So since most of us in here are photographers, let's equate it to photography. So in this distress phase, this would have been where you are learning Photoshop, you are learning camera technology, you are learning how to use your Magic 3, ISO, aperture, and shutter speed. You are learning all of that stuff, and it's a little hard. And maybe you've taken it a step further and learned entrepreneurship. You've learned how to start your own business, and you're just, it's this thing that you're like, gosh, this is a lot, but I can do it. So now you've gone up here to development, where you're developing what you've learned in this harder phase of understanding who you are, your capabilities, and all that. So now you're actually consciously competent. You are now competent to do this thing that you've always wanted to do here because of all the work it took in the distress phase. Okay? Does that make sense? So you're coming out of the dip. You are feeling the excitement of looking up and seeing what's on the horizon. Okay. Development is a really fun place to be. You now have the tool to make your dream happen. You've learned, you've researched, you've worked to get all the gears going to make your dream an awesome thing. Okay. All right. Now we go up into demonstration is the next phase. And I will show you this. Okay, so now you're at demonstration. Demonstration, close this, is where, and now, so you now stick with consciously competent the whole way through. So demonstration, you are also consciously competent. I can do this. I am aware of my ability to do it. Here I was aware of my inability to do it. Here I am aware of my ability to do it. Here you have gotten out of your limiting beliefs, and that has led you to your demonstration. This is now where you have your dream is rolling, it's going. And if you notice, you are at the same point as when you started. Okay, so you have that same excitement, that same that dream that once was just a thought. Now you have put in the time and the effort. You have put goals in place. You have put a path in place. And now you are demonstrating that it now actually works. And you have all the feels of the dream but even more so because now you get to look back through the dip. You get to have learned and you have said, gosh, that was hard, but I made it out of it. My business or my whatever it is, again, I go back to homeschooling because that for us is such a thing right now. Or whatever you have wanted to start in your life, it is going, it's moving, and it's working, and you feel blessed. And it's a great place to be. It's a well-oiled machine, and it's great. All right. This is awesome, right? But we're missing one stage. This is the stage that most don't ever get to because they'll stay in this demonstration phase for a long time. Now, the personality types that do not like change will stay here till they retire. They will stay here and just let this thing move and go and demonstrate and do its thing forever. As long as it's doing its thing, they will stay with that. The last phase is termination, not determination, because you've got determination through this whole thing, but the last phase, termination. Okay. All right. So that's what this looks like. That is the end. What do I mean by termination? All right. So human beings, we are creatives, especially if you're like a photographer. Like we are so creatives. We were meant to have, we are not the same in our 20s as we were when we were 10 years old. And we are not the same in our 30s as when we were in our 20s, in our 40s, in our 30s, in our 50s, in our 40s, so on and so on. We as people continue to evolve and change. So the things that we do in our life also evolve and change. So this is something that was never meant to be, okay, this is something that was never meant to be forever, ever. We were meant to say, all right, has this season run its course? Just like seasons change. We live a life of continual change. Why should the thing that we do in our life always stay the same if everything around us, including ourselves, continuously changes? Dramatic pause so that can totally sink in. Okay, does that make sense? It totally makes sense, right? All right, so this termination. Now get this, you guys. Sometimes sometimes life terminates itself on its own. I would say God terminates it for us. Sometimes we'll be in something and we'll be like, gosh, like how come it's just ending now? For me, an example would be a handful of years ago when I had a thriving photography business. I was top paid photographer in my entire state, possibly region. I mean, God had just really blessed me. And it was just there was just a pushback. All of a sudden, it seemed like a faucet had been turned off. And I was teaching also at that time, and that faucet also was being turned off. And I just had to take a step back. And as much as I wanted to go, it just, things were ending on its own. And I was left having to put myself back here in the dream. I was left having to take a step back and refocus and think, what's going on right now? And it was through that my strap was born. My camera strap, the whole thought of it and the idea of it came to me in that state where everything in my photography business was ending as I knew it. And really, God was just creating space for me and my mind and my heart to allow me to dream again. So whether you do it on your own or it just happens to you, it's important that you're understanding, because that could be a place where people get really down and out, where they're like, oh my goodness, everything is just done and it's horrible. And you get really depressed if you don't know what stage you're at. Now, this termination phase, in between the termination and dream, it should be a season of rest. It should be a season where you are taking a step back, where you're refocusing. It actually, practically, you should be doing pretty mindless things. It's okay just to sit back and feel like a schlub for a while, like a schlub, like just, I'm not really doing anything. And sometimes that's okay. If you're somebody like me who is like a mighty workhorse, and I just, my entire life is like go, 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 go. I fill my plate with as much food as I can possibly fit on it. And then I mound it up even high. And I'm like, this is delicious. I'm going to eat the whole thing. Let's say that's figuratively and literally, actually. So that's the way that I live my life. So for me, this termination, and then what happens in that phase of just rest and taking a step back to refocus, having some introspective time of thinking like, where am I at? What am I doing? For me, it's a lot of prayer. I really am on my knees before the Lord and saying, God, I literally need a divine plan, Lord. Please give me something. That's where I was after my strap and after my business. This whole incredible idea for this camera strap came to me. And that's a whole nother story. But that happened in this phase. And had I not done this, I wouldn't have started this whole nother aspect of my life, which has been such a massive blessing for me. Once you're out of that, the rest and the, thinking through, you're essentially dreaming is what you're doing. You're starting all over again. You're going back to the beginning. Okay. So here, my friends, is where you come out of the rubble. Okay. This is not rubble. This distress phase, where it is, you are learning that thing that you want to learn, you're understanding, is this right for me, in this part where you quit, you consciously quit, and I should say wisely quit, because nobody wants to waste their time doing something that they weren't meant to do, right? You either quit or you continue on. This isn't the rubble. This is the rise from the rubble. This is where you are at also a very hard stage in your life, but you're choosing to turn it around and say, okay, I'm going to rise out of this. I'm not going to stay in this state of anarchy within my mind, or depression within my mind, or the weight of the what ifs within my mind. I'm going to take this time of rest, of of refocusing and reanalyzing, restructuring, and I'm going to use it for good. I'm going to use it for my benefit. And I'm going to go back here and I'm going to start dreaming. This is the rise from the rubble. And I believe all of you guys, all of us, have been given a beautiful chance to do that right now. We cannot take this time and just curse God and curse the skies and curse Corona, like we can't do, we can waste our time doing that, or we can take it and say, thank you, thank you, thank you, because I'm going to take this time for me and my life and my family, and I'm going to refocus, and I'm going to come out of this stronger. I'm going to come out of this with something, a new idea, a new perspective. I'm going to get rid of my limiting beliefs and rise up out of the rubble and do something great. Okay. I hope you get that. Do you get that? This is just incredible. So at different points in my life, I go through this and I'm like, where am I at? So then this is actually the coolest part here. Let's see. I'm going to draw it on a new one. What happens when you are doing this over and over again in your life? Okay, this is my terrible mountain. It's a mountain. Okay. And I should know what mountains look like because I literally see them out my window every single day. But this is what we're gonna go with. All right. So what happens? Let's picture this as our life, our mountain of life. So our first go around from our dream to our termination is the biggest part of the mountain. So we circle that big, huge base of that mountain, and we're like, okay, that was hard. That really stretched me. I had to walk a lot farther than I ever thought I could walk, but I did it. Okay. And then you go around to that next bend and you circle again. You're like, okay, so that wasn't quite as hard because I did it the first time. It was really hard that first time, but I did it. I did it again because I understood what it was to do it the first time. And then you go around a third time and it's like, whoa, well, that was easier. And then you go around again and again and again. And every single time you go from your dream to termination to your rest and then back again, it gets a little bit easier every time because we learn and we grow and we understand that life will always be challenging. You will always be climbing a mountain in some way at whatever stage of your life. But every time you go through these steps, because you already did it, because you have a foundation of understanding of what you did previous, it just gets a little easier and easier and easier every time. And then you could say that at this point, you are maybe older, you're a little bit wiser, you have now a whole mountain to look down and say, I did all that. You know, someone might say, you know, this is retirement phase. This is when you're, who knows how old you are at those ages, right? But it's just this beautiful thing that once you reach the top, you are like, wow, I've done a lot. And the truth is that any of these stages, you guys, any one of us could say, well, I'm here or here or here or wherever, but you can always kind of look down and say, all right, but even the journey to get to the mountain was a hard one and I got here. You know, a lot of people with Mount Everest just get to base camp, but even that is a huge accomplishment, even though they didn't scale the actual mountain up to the top. That in itself is an accomplishment. So what I'm saying is that at any stage, you can look back and say, I did that. I accomplished that. I got through that. And let that be the foundation for your next stage in your life. Okay, I hope that makes sense to you guys, and I hope that encourages you. I just want to go through some just super practical things, and I don't know where we're at with time, but
we're about 45 minutes, but we've got a bit more time.
Okay, so I'll just give really quick. Hopefully I can do this. I'm going to share my screen. So this is one thing I learned when I was developing my camera strap. Complexity is the thief of execution. You should write that down. It has become like my mantra in my life. Complexity is the thief of execution. So if something is way too complex for you, and this would be for somebody that's kind of in the like termination dream type phase where you're thinking about your next steps in your life. If you are making it way too complex in your mind, you're never going to execute because it's just too much for you to handle. So this is what I always encourage people to do. So at the top here is your mission. So here's your overarching goal. You're going to say, and you're going to write down, because you guys, writing things down is important. I'm actually not really too big of a like journal person, but I do think that getting it out of your mind, putting it on paper makes it tangible. It makes it something that you can see and touch, and, you know, rather than it just floating in your mind all the time. So I would encourage you guys to get in the habit of writing things out. So especially when it comes to dreaming and going through the stages and unpacking, what am I going to do in my life? You know, so the top, you would write down your mission. What is my overarching mission here? What do I hope to accomplish? Then you write down 3 different goals for you that it's going to take to accomplish that main mission. All right. So 3 goals that you can quantify and say, these are the 3 main things that I'm going to have to do to make this mission a reality. Then you unpack each of those goals even further. So for this first goal, you have 3 steps, 3 tangible steps for this first goal. Then you move over to your second goal. You look at that, and then under that, you have 3 tangible next steps, which is your plan. This is your 3 steps in your plan to accomplish that second goal. Then in your third goal, same thing. You've got 1, 2, 3 practical next steps to accomplish that third goal. So this is just like radically simple here. I mean, it's all written out super simple, but it really does help to get things out of your head and onto paper and makes it less complex. You know, the concept of 3, why each one of those are in 3, is because I told myself, I said, all right, listen, I don't know anything about creating a product. I've never done it in my life, but I feel this innate desire to do this thing, and I feel like it's what I have to do in my life. I feel like it's what I'm created to do in this season right now. So, but I don't know anything about it. And because the thought of creating it was so complex to me, I realized I just need to know the next 3 steps. I remember verbally saying to myself, I don't need to know the next 100 steps. I only need to know the next 3. So I remember writing down, what are my next 3 steps? And I wrote those out. Okay, next I have to call this person, and then they have to do this and this. And then once I'd accomplish those, I'd write the next 3 down, and next 3. And bit by bit, I walked 100 steps and didn't even really realize it. But that was enough for me to mentally feel like I can accomplish something. So, and then just my last little bit, what I will leave you guys with is, this also is something for me that it hit me. I saw this on a businessman's wall one day. The greatest tragedy is not that you aim too high and miss, but that you aim too low and you reach it. It stopped me dead in my tracks when I saw it on his wall, and it had a big, beautiful mountain in the background. This image I actually shot. It's a volcano, the Tungurahua in Ecuador. And it just speaks to my heart and my mind in thinking, at the end of my life, I don't want to stand there and say, man, I really wish I would have done that thing, but it just felt comfortable for me to reach that baseline part of the mountain. And I never reached for that next level. You know, there's a statistic that says people that are dying on their deathbed, the things that they end up saying that they regret in their life are things that they always wanted to do and never did. People always say that usually on their deathbed. And I want to minimize that as much as I can in my life, you know, and we're all at different points in our life. And we were all created to do something. We all have a part in this world. We were all created very individually, very unique, with totally different thought processes. We were all created to accomplish something great. And so the thought of aiming way too low and reaching that and staying in that space, for me, is such a tragedy. And this whole talk, I just hope that it encourages you to say, you know, I'm just going to go up there. I'm going to aim up there, and I'm just going to throw it real high. And if I don't quite reach that, but I reach a little bit under, it's okay, because I'll go around the mountain again. I'll dream again. I will continue to, and then I'll reach up a little higher every time I do it. And I will become a different person and become better and better every time. So I hope that encourages you guys. It's the whole rise out of the rubble. And I know you can do this. Blessings to you guys. That's what I got.
Thanks, Nicole. That was great. I think something has gone a bit wrong with my camera, and it's not, for some reason, it's not showing me. So I'll just have, I'll have to have my
Okay, well,
profile
we can
picture,
see
I'm
your pretty
afraid.
face still.
Yeah, we're having a day of it for videos today. But I thought that's very inspiring, and a lot of what you said really rang true. About setting goals and breaking them down, and or having your mission and setting goals and setting targets. And I think it's really, really important to establish a pattern of success and achievement, because it's
Yes.
like you're saying at the beginning about the
Yes.
muscle memory and building your
Yep.
muscles. You need to sort of be able to look back and say, I did that. And because I didn't think I could do that initially, but I did do it. And so I
Right.
can do the next thing.
Right. Absolutely.
So I think, well, it's a different sort of talk. We don't actually have any questions coming in at the moment, but there's lots of people saying they're finding it very inspiring. So if anyone wants
Oh,
to ask any questions, fire away. But I think it's about helping people kind of reframe their thoughts after such a strange year.
yeah. I mean, that's why I feel like this is such a perfect time. I, through this whole season, have chosen to see it as a blessing. It's really a choice you have to make in your life, and you choose to, like, you have to choose to rise out of the rubble or stay under it. And so um I really feel like we can really turn it around and do something really awesome. And I'm seeing the chats pop up, and saying that it was really encouraging and inspiring for people.
Mhm.
And that makes me so happy. And but
So
yeah,
Marsha's asked if you have any outstanding dreams.
no, I have a lot of them. See, there's my problem. Marcia, is that what you said her name was? Okay.
Yes, yes.
My thing is that I have a lot of dreams. um I don't have a problem dreaming. My issue is, and I learned this a long time ago, and this is my personal belief. I I have a lot of good ideas, a lot of good ideas, but I want the God idea. Like, I really want that idea that I know is going to be incredible, that I know is going to use every part of my talent and who I am, and that I can throw myself in it, and that it will be successful. Like, and not that every idea is going to be a success. Some of them aren't sometimes, and that's okay. You circle around and you do it again, and you course correct and figure it out. But I personally, if you guys are uh, care to know, I am kind of, I'm coming right out of that dream phase right now for me. And I've just moved to Colorado just 3 months ago, but I've seen that in this location there are a lot of female entrepreneurs. I used to live in North Dakota, a tiny little town in North Dakota, and now being here in a much bigger city, I see that really the Lord is opening up so many more opportunities for me. And um, so yeah, I'm kind of sitting back and also seeing what comes my way. So and something is forming in there, and I'm excited to continue to walk through those open doors. That's another tactic of mine. Like, what I got to walk, I got to be moving in order to see the open doors. So a lot of times I'll just start walking, and I will just see what, and obviously I'm talking figuratively, but I'll start
Mhm.
taking steps forward in the direction that I want to go within my dream,
Mhm.
and just see, like, are the doors open, are they not? And if they're open, I just keep walking through them. Yeah.
And you mentioned that a lot of people, when they've gone through the development phase and they stop at that peak, they don't move on and they sort of settle in for 20, 30 years and they're quite happy. Do you think that those
Yeah.
people maybe just have a very high boredom threshold? They're quite happy where they are.
And right, they're happy. People could stay in that phase for a long time if it is what in their spirit just makes them so happy. I'm not saying that that in itself is innately wrong, but I also don't ever want someone to keep that thought process of, oh, once I've made it in this thing, it's the thing that I'm meant to do for forever. Because sometimes people are in that state. Like, let's talk about photography, for example. I was in the photography industry as I learned by top photographers in the US for like 8 years before I started my own business. And some of these photographers were making tons of money, but hated photography. They just came to a place where it just became a money maker for them. And they're like, well, this is all I know. This is the only way I know to make money. And I don't like really what I'm doing anymore, but I'm good at it. So why would I change this up? That to me would be the perfect example of somebody that needs to terminate and start over again. And it doesn't have to go instantly. You can kind of overlap. You can say, well, this is the thing that's making me money, but I'm also going to sit and dream a little bit and see what else is out there to do. And we hear that a lot of times. People that left huge companies and totally left it to do the thing that in their heart they were actually really passionate about. So yeah, I don't know if that makes sense. Because I don't want somebody to be like, oh my word, should I terminate my thing? But I love what I'm doing and I've been doing it for a long time. I don't want to give that message either. But what I want to say to that particular person is just, if there is something in you that you're like, well, I have kind of thought of this and I'm not really loving this really anymore, I would encourage you to start exploring that and just giving voice to uh, that creative energy that's like dwelling inside of you and just seeing what doors open up for that.
Yeah, just keep exploring.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nicole. It's been really inspiring. I've enjoyed speaking with you and hearing what you've got to say.
Yeah. Oh, so great. I seriously come alive when I do stuff like this. So there's so much I could talk about it. So thank you guys for listening to me and just going along with me in this journey and letting me be a part of yours in some little way. So
Thank you.
yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye.